Good morning. Let me get this stuff out of the way. Those are my seeds for my garden and my jacket. It's real life, folks. Real life. Okay, a couple things. First of all, it is May 3rd of 2026. Normally, I do these videos on my phone, and today I have this laptop I bought. I don't know. I don't know. I think it was last summer. I'm not real happy with it. It's a very cheap laptop, but we're gonna try it. We'll see what happens, okay? We're gonna talk Tartaria. And before we get started, first of all, I do long format. I don't edit. I don't know technology that well. It took me like 10 minutes just to find the camera icon on this new thing, this new laptop. You know, I I'm not tech savvy. I could get there. I just don't want to. It's a lot of work. I see the videos, I see creators and the work that goes into it. I don't have the time or the money. It takes money. And like this thing, even now, it's very confusing because there's a lag between my speech and my camera, and I don't know why. It's weird. But we're gonna try this. We'll see what happens. I may have to redo the whole thing on my phone. We'll see. So, honestly, I don't necessarily buy into the whole Tartaria thing. I don't know a whole lot about it. From what I understand, it is the rabbit hole, and I have not jumped headfirst into the hole yet. Okay, I don't, I don't know. I There's so many other things that I have been diving into, but from my understanding, it is the belief that there was a society all over the globe, or flat Earth, however you believe, that they wiped away. There were buildings, and by the way, my cats are going to interrupt us. They they are really worked up today, so. And so what I do is I don't like to go by technology because you can find whatever it is you're looking for. If you want to believe in aliens, you're going to find something that backs it up. If you don't want to believe in aliens, you're going to find stuff that backs it up. There's such a psyop going on. If you want to believe in flat earth, you're going to find something that backs it up. If you want to believe in a globe earth, you're going to find stuff that backs it up. If you want to believe that eggs are bad for you, you're going to find something that backs it up. If you want to believe that eggs are the healthiest thing ever on the planet, you're going to find something that backs it up. I don't, there's a psyop going on. Confusion is the game. And the Bible told us that this was going to happen, and it is happening. It has happened. And so, what I do is I buy books, very old books, and I go buy those. Now, are they part of the psyop? Probably. But this one's pretty cool. This one, even though I don't buy into the whole Tartaria thing, this makes me go, hmm, maybe there is something to this. I don't know. But it's weird. I don't want to buy into a system that uses AI to create whatever narrative they want. And so I found I go hunting for books on a regular basis. I like books. I don't have a whole lot of them because I don't have room. I have a small house. I have a couple bookshelves. And so I have to be very picky. And I bought this one last summer. And normally, I only pay like $5 and under for books. If I find something that I really like, I may pay $10, $20. But this one I saw and I was like, oh, I've heard of this rabbit hole. I paid $45 for it just so I could do a video or two on it. And I'll be honest, I did a video already where I was actually reading the words in here, but it didn't really pique anyone's interest. And I admit I am not the best person to watch read. I'm a very slow reader. I like to grasp every single word. And so I'm not the best person to do story time. So what we are going to do today is just look at the pictures. And there's a lot of them. And I promise you, by the time we are done, you're going to be going, something's not right here. Something's not adding up. 2 plus 2 is not equaling 4. The math is not mathing, okay? And the book I'm talking about is this. And it's beautiful. It says The Universal Exposition, St. Louis. It's embossed. It's beautiful. It's not a hardback. It's some kind of very thick construction paper. Has some beautiful old yarn holding it together. And it is, you know how they have, I forget what you would even call this. You know, like when they got onto the Titanic, they gave them, you know, like menus and itineraries. That's a good word. So this would be the itinerary that you would get, or a souvenir book, however you want to look at it, if you went to this exposition. And it's in excellent condition. And I looked it up. The Universal Exposition was in 1889. That was 137 years ago. And I looked up also how long it lasted. And today's May 3rd. It began on May 6th of 1889. So in 3 days, it will be 137 years old. It lasted until October 31st of 1889. It only lasted 6 months. And that's the part that's going to make you go, the math is not mathy. Because once you see these pictures, you're going to be like, nah, nah. Okay, and it took me 5 seconds to look that up. You could look it up. I just put in how long did the Universal Exposition last, and that's what it gave me. It was from May 6th to October 31st, 1889, which was 6 months long. And then I subtracted 1889 from 2026, and that was 137 years ago. Take you 5 seconds to go fact check me. Okay? So, we open it up, and I don't know if you could see on this. Again, it's a cheap laptop, but you could tell how this is from this. It's very old. You can see the aging happening, but somebody took really good care of this. And we're just going to look through the pictures. These are the buildings they built back in 1889 for a 6 month exposition. And then supposedly they tore them down. Okay? That's the part that's going to make you go, So, and I'm going to try to do this fast because, again, I know I'm a slow reader. I'm not going to read everything that's in here. I'm going to do the introductory page. And then we're going to try to flip through them pretty quickly because this is going to be long. There's a lot of pages. Maybe we'll just flip through some of the pages. Okay, so this is the introductory page. On the one side, it says Festival Hall and Cascades, World's Fair, St. Louis, USA, 19 or 8 1904. I think it says 1904. And it says the Universal Exposition, beautifully illustrated official publication, illustrations reproduced from Goerz, Goerz, lens photographs made by official photographic company William H. Rau, RAU, Director of Photography, published by official photographic company St. Louis, USA, Robert A. Reed, Director of Viewbook Publications, the trade supplied by American News Company and its branches. Copyright 1904. So the exposition was in 1889, and this book was made, so it was some kind of a commemorative, is what I'm guessing, or something. But the copyright is in 1904 by Louisiana Exposition Company, Press of Sam L. F. Meyerson Printing Company, St. Louis. Single copies mailed by publishers for $1.10. Address City Office, Official Photographic Company, St. Louis. Okay, so, and I doubt this camera is very good, but if you could see it, that's where it says this was done in 1904, this book. I don't think the camera is the best quality. But we're just going to look through, okay? This is the Festival Hall and Grand Basin. I want you to look at the detail. Supposedly, they built all of this for a 6-month fair and then tore it all down. Look at the detail. There are a lot of pages, so we're going to go fast. Look at this. This is insane. For a fair, for a 6-month fair. Look at the statues, and they had to build all those waterways and the pillars and the detail for a 6-month fair. Now, the conspiracy is that these were here before. There were buildings like this all over the planet at one time, and they used that general period to destroy them and call it a festival, a fair. And this happened in many places all over the planet. And you have to admit, we all know, we've all seen the pictures of the Colosseum and the buildings in like Egypt and Rome and Greece from back in biblical times. Now, as we're going through these, tell me how many of these buildings look like they could have come from that period of time. These look like buildings that would have come back from those times. Look at this. They built this building just for a fair. Things that make you go, hmm. They look like they're from the same time period as the great Colosseums. They look like every movie you've ever seen about Greece, or what were those movies from back when, where with Pegasus and oh, it's too early in the morning and I'm only on my second cup of coffee. Pegasus and what's his name and all the Greek gods, every movie you've ever seen, they all had buildings like this. And this. But they just built these for a fair and then tore them down. And this, look at that lawn. That is so neat. They're beautiful. Okay, I'm going to flip through a few pages because this will take an hour. I mean, these are just, okay. They're gorgeous. So the conspiracy is that they did these fairs so they would have a reason to tear these buildings down to hide the history, the true history. Again, I'm not saying I buy into this. I can't. There's nowhere in my brain to file it. But you look at this stuff and it's like, the math is not mathing. It doesn't make sense. These buildings are magnificent. Okay, not just the buildings. I mean, look at the detail in the yard. Look at the statues, the pillars. I can see maybe they built all of the outdoor stuff around the buildings that already existed, but I can't see where they built these magnificent buildings just for a fair. Let me see if I can find something good. And then here's a picture of the inside of one full of antiques. Let me see what it is. It is Old Flemish Dining Room, Belgian Pavilion. Look at the insides. The detail indoors is just as magnificent as the detail outdoors. And they represented areas from all over the globe. Here's the Japanese gardens and tea houses. Let's see. See, look at this. This is insane. They created statues, and there's just hundreds, if not thousands, of statues in this fair. And he did this just for a fair? Just to tear it down 6 months later? And you notice these are all from ancient times. They're ancient gods. Those are ancient gods. You got a centaur in there. You got some cherubs. I can't see from this view, but you've got quite a few Greek gods in there. Let's see. Look at this waterway. It's magnificent. And they dug out these waterways just for the fair? We're just going through quickly. Here's a view from the distance so you get an idea. This whole picture is part of the fair. I should have looked that up, see how big the fair really was. I didn't think about it. It probably says in here. So it's got the Hall of Congresses. Anthropology Administration Building. They represent Belgium, Cuba, Sweden, Siam, Mexico, and many others. Um, Here's the French Pavilion and the British Pavilion that they're representing. And it just goes on and on. Let me see what else we can find. There's India, Mexico, Nicaragua, Argentina. They have buildings from all of these places. Uh, let's see. Look how big this building is. The people, here's the people. Look how big this building is. Just so people can come walk through it. For a fair where people can just come walk through for 6 months. Pay to get in to look at a building. The math doesn't math. It's just so weird. Here, they did an entire, this is the Jerusalem, the great reproduction of the holy city. They did a reproduction of the entire city as it was back in 1889. There's the one side. There's the other side. They did the entire city. You see the word Jerusalem. A few of the buildings they have left standing. There's Oklahoma, Kentucky. These are state buildings. West Virginia, Louisiana, Iowa, and Arkansas, Connecticut, and Kansas. All of these buildings at this time, supposedly they left standing. Look at that. That's beautiful. So like I said, I was doing a series where I was reading through what it says underneath the pictures, but it just didn't pique enough interest, and so that's why we're doing it this way. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maryland, Nevada, Wisconsin, Indiana. I wonder which building this is in Indiana, because I live in Indiana. Indiana has a very many fine views of Wisconsin decorate the walls. Indiana has a very pretentious building and occupies a commanding position among the state groups. The style is French Renaissance, and it is this bottom one right here. That was the one that represented Indiana, which is where I am from. Let's see what else. Look at this. Amazing. You know how big that is? It's huge. It's huge. I really wish I had looked up how big the whole fair was, how many miles or kilometers this picture. Because they had to take up the whole city. They had to. Look at this. Now, I'm only showing you a small portion of the pictures in this. And just what I have shown you. They did an entire reproduction of Jerusalem. The math doesn't math. And that's why I bought this book. I paid $45 for this thing, which is more than I usually pay. Haley's Firefighting Exposition. The bottom picture. That's a fire station? It's huge. What does the fire station where you're at look like? Uh, let's see. This is something that is about creation. This bottom picture. And again, I'm just showing you a small portion of what's in here because we're already at 25 minutes. If I were to show you every single picture, this would probably take, I'd say, at least 2 hours. Look at this. It's a castle. This book is the only thing that has piqued my interest in Tartaria. And I know people personally who believe in Tartaria, that they erased the real history. I have my own little rabbit trails that I go on, and so I never really did a deep dive until I found this book, and now I'm like, okay, something, something, something. This is the Tyrolean Alps. They built this to represent the Tyrolean Alps. I mean, come on, people. That's the last page. Let's read the last page, if I can see the words, just to finish this off. Few visitors to the exposition failed to visit the Tyrolean Alps, one of the largest and most interesting of the concession features. Artificial mountains of towering height have been constructed, and under their shadow, a great dining hall where every day some thousands of visitors listen to what is considered the finest band in America while enjoying dinner a la carte. The surroundings are Tyrolean. Tyrolean is Tyrolean. From the style of architecture to the girls who sell Edelweiss, Tyrolese singers of fine voice take turns with the great orchestra, whose lead player is purported to receive a salary of $45 a week. That was a lot of money back then. This is 1889. Um, an electric fountain which shoots to a height of 75 feet in constantly changing colors is one of the many garden effects. The mountain trip by railroad carries the visitor into the heart of the Alps. He is shown famous villages and valleys in the mountains of the Tyrol, and the glaciers are reproduced with realistic effect. Real waterfalls and cascades complete the charm. The trip ends with a long slide that results invariably with an expulsion of laughter and expressions of delight. Other features of the Tyrolean Alps are the Alpine village in which the house where Mozart was born is reproduced, a Taiwanese council hall, a barn for national dances, and a chapel. See, if you would have looked at this, that would have looked like they took a picture in the Alps. This is all created. Supposedly for a 6 month fair, just so people can walk through it. And remember, the insides were just as intricate as the outsides. And then they tore it all down. Things that make you go, hmm. To me, the math doesn't math. And again, But there's also a lot of other stuff that goes with the Tartaria. Sorry, with the Tartaria rabbit hole. You know, I know a lot of people who believe that they distinguished our real history, also believe that we had electricity from long, long ago, and they just destroyed all the history so that they could recreate it and kind of start over. Again, this isn't one of my rabbit holes. This isn't, I just saw the book. Now I'm like, I'm going to do a video or two on it. And I spent the money. And yeah, I find it very interesting, very intriguing. And, the math isn't mathing. I'll give you that. Why would you do all of that in that kind of detail and spend that kind of money for a 6 month fair? It doesn't make sense. I will give you that. It's weird. So, um, if you want to, find your own copy, I don't know how many of these would have lasted because, this is from 19, what did I say, 1906? And it is not a hardback. So I don't know that a lot of these are still around, but this is what it's called. You can go back to the beginning to look up the the company that put them out, and I read you all the details. So, all right, I said I was gonna do it. I've been asked to do it. I did it. I'll give it to you. It's weird. It's weird. And again, I only showed you maybe a fourth of the book, if that. I I I skipped a lot. I was just trying to find the interesting pages to really give you some detail. And remember, the inside is just as intricate as the outside. It just doesn't make sense. But that's me. All right, we're going to see how this laptop did. And if it did well, I will start doing videos on here instead of my phone. And just remember that I love you. That's why I do these videos. Jehovah loves you more, and Yeshua loves you so much that he died and gave his life for you. And if you were the only one, he still would have done it. Have a great day.